Homes have been sitting on the market for months, despite the fact that interest rates have come down by almost an entire percentage point. Is now a good time to buy or sell? We're going to dive into all of that in today's video. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kara Fiano and I'm a local real estate broker in the Asheville region with Mackey Realty. Today's video is my October housing market update video, and yes, I know it is November. I apologize for getting this video out a little bit late. If you watched my September housing market update video, you know that I was gone the first 2 weeks of October. We went away on our honeymoon in New England and it was truly amazing. I still wish that we were up there, to be honest. We had a really good time. So that is why this month's video is going out a little bit later. Thank you for your patience, and everything should be back to normal going forward. Let's start out with the usual home prices on a national level. In August, the median new home list price was $413,500 versus $422,600 for existing homes. New homes have historically sold for more than existing homes, but this is starting to shift. 38% of home builders cut prices in October, with the average reduction being 6%. The median existing home sale price on a national level is $415,200, which is a 2.1% increase year over year. An interesting, though I'll admit kind of a depressing statistic, is that home prices have increased by 53% in 6 years, whereas wages have only increased by 30%. This is why we have seen affordability be at an all-time low for the past, I'd say, year or more. Thankfully, affordability is starting to get a little bit better, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Typical annual price appreciation only increased by 1.5% year over year. This is the slowest rate we have seen since July 2023. Now, I don't normally discuss rent, but I do have some national as well as local numbers for this, and I thought it would be worth sharing. National median rent is $1,381, which is roughly a percentage point lower than it was a year ago. Rent in the Asheville region is slightly below the national median and is $1,354. This includes all types of rentals, anywhere from studios or 3+ bedrooms. In terms of median sale price for single-family homes, interestingly, we're seeing prices be pretty stable in Buncombe County and Henderson County, whereas Madison and Haywood County, we're actually seeing price increases, which is rather odd. Buncombe County's median sale price for single-family homes is $510,000, which is a 1% increase year over year. Henderson County saw a 1.8% decrease to $464,000. On the other hand, we have Haywood County, which saw an 8% increase to $405,000, and Madison County saw an increase of 6.4% to $450,000. Now, this is rather interesting because if you watched my past few housing market update videos, you'll know that I've been saying Madison County is in a buyer's market. It's actually one of the stronger buyer's markets we are seeing in the area. So it's rather interesting to see home prices actually increase. Now, this is a year over year basis, which of course, if we were to look at this on a month over month basis, we might see things look a little bit different. As many of you probably know, the housing market has slowed down quite a bit this year, and consequently, inventory has been on the rise. On a national level, inventory is up 17% year over year, but interestingly, it's still 13.9% lower than pre-pandemic inventory levels. In addition to this, homes spent a median of 62 days on the market in September. Condos are not very common in the Asheville region. However, if you are looking for one, I do have one on the market right now. It's quite affordable and very conveniently located. I'll leave a link to the video tour up here in case you haven't seen it. But on a national level, condos are actually in a very strong buyer's market. Redfin reported that there are 72% more condo sellers than buyers on a national level. They stated that buyers have been spooked by increasing HOA amounts as well as insurance costs. Spring and summer this year marked the strongest buyer's market for condos since records dating back to 2013, with the exception of April 2020. We've talked about how inventory has increased on a national level, but what about locally? Well, it's a similar story here in the Asheville region. Inventory has increased significantly year over year. If we look at month supply of inventory for single family homes, we can see that Madison County is still in a buyer's market and the other three are still in seller's markets technically. If we were to include townhomes and condos, these numbers would shift, but single family homes are the most popular and most common type of construction in this region, so I thought that that would probably be the most useful figure for you. As a quick reminder, if month supply of inventory is below 6, that means it's a seller's market. 6 to 7 is considered a neutral market, and 7 and higher is considered a buyer's market. Some people don't actually consider that neutral market area, and they'll say anything over 6 is a buyer's market, so I'll let you make that determination. Buncombe County saw month supply of inventory year over year increase by over 70% to 4.8. Henderson County saw an increase of almost 47% to 4.4, and Haywood County saw an increase of 54% to 5.4. Madison County had the largest jump of 80% up to 7.2. Days on market for single-family homes has also been increasing and is around 30 days, give or take, for all 4 counties. More specifically, Buncombe County is at 24 days, which is a 60% increase year over year. Henderson County is up to 26 days, which is just under a 70% increase. Haywood County is up to 35 days, which is a 75% increase. And Madison County is also up to 35 days, though it's only a 16.7% increase. Now, while this is a significant change from the market that we saw last year, it's important to note that these numbers are actually more in line with pre-pandemic numbers. The chart I'm putting up here on the screen is actually showing you 10 years of data. So as you can see, the market we saw post-pandemic, so 2021 through around, I'd say 2023 or 2024, that was an extremely strong seller's market and very unusual. So now we're starting to normalize to a market that we haven't seen in multiple years, and it's shocking a lot of people. It's making sellers feel like, I don't know what's going on, my home's just not selling, and basically I feel like the market that we saw during the pandemic and for the following few years kind of warped people's perception of what a normal market even looks like. So I think that looking at charts like this on a longer term time frame are really helpful to put things into perspective. Let's talk a little bit about mortgage interest rates. So earlier this year, they were around 7%, and now they're all the way down to 6.12%, which is almost a percentage point lower. Despite this, we've still seen a sluggish housing market. From what I've seen in talking to buyers and sellers, everyone is waiting for interest rates to continue to come down. Even though homes are technically a little bit more affordable, people just aren't wanting to pull the trigger. You might be thinking, how are homes right now more affordable? Well, if you have home prices that have stabilized and aren't increasing or decreasing, but you have interest rates having declined by really any amount, you're going to see your monthly payment lower. Redfin recently reported that just over half of mortgaged homeowners have an interest rate below 4%. The share of sub 3% homeowners has now dropped to around 20%. This is bound to happen as interest rates have been in the 6s most of this year, and as more people purchase properties, the amount of homeowners with interest rates in the 3s or 4s or anything that we haven't seen in a few years is bound to start declining. Over time, this will soften the lock-in effect. The Mortgage Bankers Association, or MBA, is anticipating that interest rates will be in the 6s well into next year, and they're citing reasons such as inflation being too high and also tariff concerns. More specifically, the MBA is expecting interest rates to average around 6.4% next year, whereas on the contrary, Fannie Mae is predicting interest rates around 6% for Q2 and Q3 of next year, and then possibly getting to 5.9% by the end of 2026. Now, I find this interesting because the MBA stated 6.4% next year, but we're already at 6.1% now. I really just think that it's likely going to fluctuate anywhere around 6% or a little bit higher. Truthfully, I mentioned this before, no one can actually really accurately predict what interest rates are going to do. A lot of different factors go into determining that. And another thing to keep in mind is that when the Fed makes decisions to cut, their rates, by 25 basis points or something, a lot of times, or really pretty much every time, that's already priced into interest rates. That's why when you see the Fed meet and make a decision on that, you're not seeing interest rates have a reaction, after that meeting. It's already been priced in. Now, I want to mention some misleading headlines that you may have read. You may have seen that foreclosure rates have been increasing month over month for 6 months or so. And the reality is that's really a deceptive way of stating that, because while foreclosure rates may have increased a little bit, they are still well below pre-pandemic levels. That type of journalism really frustrates me because it causes buyers and sellers to be misinformed if they don't have time to read the whole article and they just read the heading or, the title or the subheading. Hopefully you guys, aren't tricked by that kind of thing, but I thought that that was worth mentioning. Foreclosure rates are still well below pre-pandemic levels. Let's dive into some local news now. I think that we should really talk about vacation rentals. I know that some people have reached out and they're kind of curious as to what's happened to the market and, how are vacation rentals doing? How is tourism in the Asheville region? And we're going to dive into all of that. Naturally, the vacation rental market has struggled since Helene, and I did read that vacancy was down 49% in September. This is likely due to oversaturation in the market, but also due to lingering impacts from Helene. Helene wiped out 30% of rentals, though this number has recovered a little bit and now is down by only 14%. Vacation rental revenue is down by 25% year over year. This is really good to keep in mind if you are contemplating purchasing a vacation rental property. Just know that in the near term, it'll probably be a little bit painful. The financials, probably aren't going to look so good. However, going forward, it's likely that this is going to turn around. The Asheville region does rely on tourism, so I do believe that the rental market will start to get better. Personally, I would have expected that the amount of tourists was maybe about half of what it typically is. However, I was quite surprised at the actual numbers. The Asheville Downtown Association recorded 443,000 out-of-market visitors versus 489,000 during the same period in 2023. I'm not sure what the time frame was of this. I'm not sure if it was like fall time frame or spring, summer, and fall, or what exactly, but I do know that they compared the same time frame for this year compared to 2023. So personally, I'm a little bit surprised that the numbers are not all that far off. Yes, tourism is down, but not as much as I personally would have expected. Let me know if that statistic surprised you guys as well. Leave me a comment and let me know. I do have some positive news about Lake Lure. I did read that it should be open to the public by late next spring, and the lake should be fully filled by next May. It's good to note here that it is very common for them to drain the lake to some degree at certain points of the year for different maintenance and, clearing it out and things like that. So yes, they have drained it a lot more due to basically Helene cleanup, but just know that not all of the images that you see online of Lake Lure having less water are because of Helene. That is a typical thing that they do down in Lake Lure. The last statistic I want to mention is about the number of investors that own properties. I've noticed in a lot of comments on my short videos on social media, whether it be TikTok or YouTube or wherever, I've noticed that a lot of people tend to blame, big investors on purchasing up all the properties, and that's why people can't afford homes and things like that. And while that may be part of the problem, it's not as big of a problem as many people make it seem. And I have a statistic here that if you do feel that way, this may change your mind or just make you think a little bit differently about it. In Q2 of this year, small-scale investors, or those that own 10 properties or fewer, accounted for 33% of purchases. On the other hand, large-scale investors only accounted for 2% of purchases in Q2. Now, of course, this doesn't talk about how many large-scale or small-scale investors already own properties, but I do think that it's worth noting that out of the number of people that are purchasing properties, large-scale investors are only 2%, which is a very minimal amount. I started off this video asking the question, is now a good time to buy or sell? And I want to go ahead and answer that. From everything that I have seen in the market here in Western North Carolina, I can confidently say that right now is a very good time to purchase a property if that is something that you're contemplating doing and you're financially able. Of course, I understand that job security right now may be a little bit touchy for some people, and affordability still isn't amazing. However, it is getting better. And what I can tell you is that once interest rates do come down into the fives, I'm not sure at what point in the fives, but once interest rates come down even more, there are so many people sitting on the sidelines waiting. I mean, practically every person I talk to is like, oh, I would like to buy a house, but I just want to wait for interest rates to come down a little bit more. And the reality is, when that happens, all those people that have been waiting are going to want to get into the market, which will push prices higher. Right now, if you are able to purchase a property, it's a good idea to talk to a lender. I have some local lender recommendations I'm happy to provide if that's something you're interested in. Basically, talk to a lender, talk to a realtor. I'm happy to chat with you on the phone, text, email, in person, anything. And just talk about what your options might be. Because if you purchase a property now, even if the interest rate is around 6%, if you purchase now, you can, get a lower purchase price, negotiate with that seller, maybe on some closing costs as well, buy some discount points, get your interest rate lower. But you can also refinance that property when interest rates do come down. And right now, you won't really have to deal with competition on the buy side. If you're a seller, I'm going to be honest, it's very difficult right now. Pretty much every listing is just sitting on the market, and we are entering into winter time and the holidays, which does tend to be a slower time on the market. If you are curious what your property might sell for, I'm happy to do a free comparative market analysis for you. I'm not sure when the housing market will pick up. It's possible that next year will be a little bit better for sellers, but it is still possible to sell your property in this market. You just have to be very accurate on pricing, have really good marketing, etc. But if you'd like to discuss that, I'm more than happy to do so. And if you would like a copy of my free home buyer guide, if you're a potential buyer, happy to provide that as well. That is everything for today's video, guys. If I can help you in any way, please let me know. I'll leave my contact info up here on the screen as well as in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and I will see you very soon in the next one.